Consistency beats perfection. Sponsored by the Media Insider, where small businesses learn to show up with confidence. Here's your insider tip. Don't aim for perfect, aim for present. Posting consistently builds more credibility than waiting for the perfect post. The Media Insider can help you create a rhythm that works for your business. Learn more at themediainsider.co. On this episode of Local Whidbey with Magsy, we're taking a delicious little detour straight from the Food Network to Bayview Corner. If you've been anywhere near Langley lately, you've probably heard whispers or full-volume raves about Japonica, the new Japanese comfort food spot created by chef Joan Samson and her sommelier husband, Ed Hodson. Joan trained in one of the toughest Japanese culinary schools, cooked her way through California's restaurant scene, landed on diners, drive-ins, and dives, and recently competed on Morimoto's Sushi Master. Ed brings the beverage magic from sake to unicorn champagnes and a level of hospitality that makes every guest feel like the night was designed just for them. Together, they've built their 5th restaurant and their most personal one yet, right here on Whidbey Island, where comfort, craft, and community meet at the table. Today, we're talking about the journey that brought them here, what it takes to build a restaurant as a couple, and why Japonica is already one of the most talked about dining experiences on the island. I had such a great time chatting with them. In fact, I want them to be my new best friends. We totally vibed, and you will hear a lot of laughing. Who would ever apologize for that, right? By the way, Joan came up with a term for that crab with a K that you find in so much sushi, and I will never not call it that from now on. So settle in. This is a story about mastery, marriage, and making something unforgettable in a little corner of Whidbey. Let's dive in. Hi, Joan and Ed.
Hello. Hi, Magsy.
Thank you so much for agreeing to this interview and your lovely restaurant. And I have been here. This summer, I've been here twice with people who visited me over the summer. And I hadn't been. And I was like, I would really like to go to Japonica. So we came here, and then I brought another friend from Oak Harbor who's new Navy transfer and comes to some of my events. And she said, is there a good sushi place here? And I said, yes. So we drove down here. And I don't mind driving. A lot of people do, but I don't mind driving. You're from the city like we all are. To me, it's no big deal. Joan and Ed, for listeners who haven't yet been to Japonica, how do you describe what you've created here on Bayview Corner?
Japonica is my take on Japanese food. It may not be considered completely traditional, but it's the things that I like to eat using Japanese techniques and Japanese flavor profiles.
Okay. And what about you, Ed? I want to hear your opinion of what you guys have created here.
Well, on Whidbey, people talk a lot about community, and we're feeling like we're becoming sort of the living room for a lot of our new friends and old friends. Mm-hmm. And it's just really convivial. It's fun. It's fun to eat this food. It's fun to have these wines and these sakes and things. Mm-hmm. It's just a party. It's really fun.
So, I've said this for decades, that if I ever won the lottery, that I would hire a sushi chef for sashimi every day. That's literally what I would eat. I love it so much. And plus, it's healthy, right?
It is very healthy for you.
Okay, Joan, the phrase from Food Network to Bayview Corner really captures your story, right? Would you agree?
Yes, it does. But that would be the back half of my story.
Okay, so we'll get there, but can you take us back to the Sterling Diner days in Long Beach? What was that Food Network moment like, and how did you change your path?
So we had been open for about 6 years. And one day I'm at the restaurant and I answer the phone, and someone on the other end of the line says, "Hi, this is so-and-so from the Food Network."
You think it was Frank?
No, without missing a beat, I said, "What took you so long?" Then, they said, "Okay, so you are being considered for the show for season 20. Mm-hmm. There are 20 other restaurants, so you're going to need to audition, give me a sample of your menu, some photos, and your story, mm-hmm. and then Guy will make the final decision and pick 6.
Okay. And so that's how it came
So,
about.
so it was over the course of several months. And then when we were selected, they said one of the requirements is that you close down for a week so that we can film.
Ooh.
That was a no-brainer. I know the reach that Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives has, and it was such an honor to be selected. So we would do whatever it takes to accommodate the show.
So quick question, when they said you weren't one of the 20, do people submit their names or they just do their own research and decide?
They do their own research.
Yeah, they send out people kind of like the Michelin people?
Yes.
Okay. That's interesting. Didn't know that. Okay, so after years in California's food scene, what drew you both to Whidbey Island and what made you decide this was the right place to open not just one, but 2 restaurants?
Well, we became late to the party parents with our now 10-year-old.
Okay.
But we wanted to raise him outside of California, with a connection to nature and just be in a place where we could spend more time with him.
Okay.
And before we had opened Starling, we took a quick vacation to Seattle for the very first time. Took a ferry to Bayview Island, and we said, wow, this is beautiful. We've never seen anything like this from where we're from. So.
And that was 2003 about?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was 2005.
Yeah, that was,
yeah.
So we've been vacationing up this way
here.
since then. And we knew that this is where we wanted to
eventually
bring
be.
up our child. One galvanizing moment for us was we were living in California, and in Southern California, it was November, but it was 98 degrees.
Yeah.
And our little 2-year-old, we only lived 60 yards away from a playground, and he had just gotten used to me blowing on food to make it cold. And he says, Daddy, blow on the playground. And what? And he said, make it cool, blow on the playground. And I just started to explain how it doesn't work that way. And he burst into tears, and he said, it's always too hot to play.
Yeah.
It's always too hot. I always have to stay inside with air conditioning. I'm never playing again. And I realized we had to change our lives and get him so that he could have an outdoor experience.
Burn the back of his legs on
this area. So we really decided to make it work here, and he loves it here.
Oh, good.
He's so happy here.
Joan, you said that Japanese cuisine has been a 38-year obsession. What first pulled you towards sushi and Japanese food in particular?
Well, I would have to credit it back to The Breakfast Club.
The movie?
The movie.
Okay.
I watched that movie when I was 13. When Molly Ringwald took out that bento box, I'd never seen anything like it. And I was immediately obsessed with it.
Yeah.
So shortly after that movie, I went to my very first Japanese restaurant. Very intimidating because at the time there were not that many in California. It was just at the beginning of the sushi revolution there. I walked in and I had my first California roll. Was just so blown away because I'd never had anything like that. No flavor profiles. And then as a teen, more and more Japanese restaurants opened up, and that was my favorite cuisine. That's all that I would eat when I got to choose what restaurant we would go to.
Wow. Yeah, I am particular Japanese, then Thai. Those are my 2 favorite. I was never a really big Chinese food eater. And then I realized when you go eat authentic Chinese, it's not the same.
Totally different.
No. So I had authentic Chinese in Vancouver, British Columbia. It was so different. So now every time we go there, we go to this, and it's a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
And but it's packed with Chinese people.
Then
so
it's authentic. Yeah.
Yes.
Then it's good.
Yes. So I would have to say that I like Chinese authentic, but not American Chinese very much. But really, Japanese is my husband and I both our favorite. You trained in traditional Japanese culinary school, one of the few women, even fewer left-handed chefs. What was that experience like for you?
It was devastating. It was a different time.
Yeah.
So there was only one other woman in the class with me.
Women in the nation, weren't there, who were certified
It was
sushi
it was
chefs?
around it was 2003 when this happened. When I went to school. When I graduated, I could not get a job. I went on about 60 or 70 interviews.
Really? Oh.
Because, it it was unusual to see a woman behind the sushi bar, let alone a left-handed woman. So every time I would show up to the interviews, they would say like, "Oh, I thought you were, a man. I thought you're John, not Joan." And
It was a lot harsher because I used to have to bring her down after these interviews. They'd violate like 20 labor laws.
Yeah, I bet.
It's like, you stupid woman, go away.
I'm about to
What makes
say,
you think, and
it was also a cultural thing.
Also,
yes, very cultural.
Yeah.
So when my first sushi job, I was hired by as a USC graduate. I had gone to USC for undergrad, and I thought that was the network. They were trying to do something different where it was more casual and less intimidating. And I just happened to I was the lowest person on the totem pole, and there were two other sushi chefs above me, and it was a wonderful experience.
I didn't have it as bad as you did about that kind of thing, but when I started in the tech industry, I was the only female in a group of guys. In this particular company, if you were caught or heard discussing your salary, you were automatically fired. And they did it incessantly. Through the cubes, I could hear them. And I made way less than all of them. And they were all the same age, right out of college than me. I just couldn't believe it. But also, I didn't want to get them fired by going, would you please review my salary? Why? No reason. Because you didn't want to be a jerk. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I totally get that. But here's the big question for you, listener. Joan also has a law degree. So why do we have a law degree?
I wanted to be a lawyer, and I did graduate, but I started in my third year, I worked I got a job working in the food industry, and I immediately just vibed with it. It was just my kind of people. The people that I worked with there was no pretense, and it was all about your skill and your ability and how hard you worked. And it just felt like salt of the earth people compared to pompous,
But did you have the kind of parents that flipped out when you said, "I'm going to go into the restaurant industry, not law"?
They totally flipped out. When I graduated,
was that there's three kinds of people in the world. There's doctors, lawyers, and all the other losers.
So when I graduated from law school, I told my parents, I said, "Hey, I want to open a cafe." And they said, "Are you crazy? You just finished law school." And I said, I really don't want to practice law. Let me try my hand at the restaurant business. If I completely fail after 2 years, I promise I'll take the bar and I will sue anybody you want. My parents hate lawyers.
Okay.
Unless they have one, on retainer.
You'll come in handy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. Okay, so you recently appeared on Morimoto's, is that how you say it?
Yeah,
Morimoto's Sushi Master. What was it like stepping into a competition like that after building such a grounded life here on Whidbey Island?
My goodness. Well, first of all, I was the oldest one by about 20 years.
Also,
and before I left, Ed said that you can either be really, really cutthroat and competitive like your nature, or you can try and build community and make it more of a camaraderie. And I said, it's nice to be on the show, and sure, I will compete, but I think I'm going to go the second round.
Okay.
So when I got there, I was there first because...
Plus your son's going to be watching it.
I said, what I'm going to do is I made friends with the concierge or the check-in clerk, and I said, anyone who's part of the show, please let me know, because I would like to buy pizza for everyone for the first night that we're here, just as a welcome or whatever. And I sat in the lobby and I tried to figure out who was there, and he would give me a nod like, this person is on the show, or this person, no, is not. And then I think I tried to set the tone for just letting people know that it's okay to not hate each other before we go into competition. And I think that the other contestants really responded on an emotional level. And, 7 out of 8 of us. I think that...
We had the first thing in Langley, Mama Fish, right?
Yes.
They all took to calling her Mama Fish, right?
Oh,
But the showrunners thought that would be too much publicity that was free for her. So you know how with the old Japanese movies where their lips are saying something different than what you're hearing? It's the same thing with this show because they edit out
Yes.
Mama Fish and say Mama Sushi. So, and then a lot of these things don't make sense. So it's like, you're the Mama Sushi. You could see the mouth says fish, but your ears are hearing sushi.
Sushi.
Yeah, so
she was Mama Fish to them.
So we all still talk to each other. We're on a WhatsApp group. And just check in with each other. And I've had one of my friends come here to Whidbey to do a cooking class, 3-course vegan lunch for sushi.
Well, that's awesome. So how far did you go?
On the show, I made it to episode 4, and there's 6 episodes.
Okay, well that's good. So my husband's into the cooking shows, all of them. I'm not really into any of the reality stuff. But I'm definitely going to watch it. And every once in a while I'll give in. He loves the bake-off shows.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah, I don't. But anyway, so we'll find this one and we'll watch it for sure. I think some of it's because Gordon Ramsay ruined me.
He's not very nice.
No, when he first came on, I'm like, I don't watch TV for this reason. Yeah. Is this the yelling and the and then of course I hear him on interviews and he could not be nicer. So it's an act, I think.
Totally.
With a lot of them, it is an act. It's a certain persona that people respond to. Yeah. It's like going back to diners, drive-ins, and dives. We all think we know what Guy Fieri is until we meet him. And he's the most humble, down-to-earth person. During filming, he would spend hours just talking to every single person because you fill your restaurant with your regulars for it to be filmed. Talk to every single person and talk to every single worker. Person delivering mail, and he'd sit down with everyone for 10 or 15 minutes, really humble, really self-effacing. And then when the cameras are on, it's the guy that you think Guy Fieri is, So,
okay. Yeah. All right. So Japonica's menu is described as Japanese comfort food, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what does that mean to you personally?
It's the food that I like to eat. It's the food that when I'm feeling sad or when I'm nourished, it just, it's all my standards, like hamachi sashimi, which is my favorite. And then also California rolls, but made with real crab. There's been some pushback on the social media, but I don't know what people are expecting, since opening a restaurant on the island is completely different than opening it on the mainland.
And by the way, I appreciate the crab thing because I refuse to eat crab with a K. That's what I always say. Is this crab with a K? When you go to a restaurant.
Life's too short for K-Rab.
Well, it's actually called Serini, and it's like pressed fish and wheat. It is,
and dipped in red dye number 40.
Yes. Yeah. I refuse to eat it.
It's like the hot dog of the sea.
Yes. That's a good one. All right. So I have some questions for Ed. So I have a hard time saying this. I'm just going to say, with my speech issues, sommelier. Is that correct?
Sommelier. Yeah.
Sommelier.
Or som. You can just say som. It's easier.
Okay. Yeah. You're a som and host. So your background as a som shapes Japonica's whole experience. How do you approach your pairings with Japanese food? Like, I know sake and champagne, but...
It was a real challenge coming up with a wine list here, and I'm pretty pleased with it. If you think about Japanese food compared to, more conventional fare, the flavor profiles are significantly different, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of umami. There's a lot of sweetness to things, not like pancake syrup sweet, but like ripeness sweet. Right. So your usual suspects for a wine list aren't going to work. I needed to find wine that had umami, that had a savory quality, that had some not bone dry qualities. Yeah. People think about white wine, the first things they're going to think about are Pinot Grigio or Chardonnay. Those aren't going to work as well. Yeah. So the challenge was to find things that are a little different. And I am pretty pleased with our wine list. Mm-hmm. I think it's a compelling wine list. I'm routinely told that our prices are the fairest on the island for things. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of great glasses that my reps tell me are $17, $18, $20 elsewhere, and I'm at $9. Wow. So we're pretty fair. And as far as the sakes go, there's sakes that you can only get here in all of Washington State. I really have to fight for some strictly allocated sakes, and I get them, and people who know.
Yeah. Let's break for a short word on supporting our community. Here on Whidbey Island, we're known for looking out for one another, and right now, some of our neighbors need us more than ever. Food insecurity is a growing reality for many in our community, including local families, our seniors, and even military households who call this island home. 3 incredible nonprofits are making a difference every single day. Good Cheer Food Bank and Thrift Stores in South Whidbey, North Whidbey Help House in Oak Harbor, and Whidbey Island Nourishes, who make sure kids and teens never go hungry. These organizations rely on community donations to keep their shelves stocked and their doors open. You can help by giving what you can or donating the specific food and supplies they need most. Visit goodcheer.org, northwhidbeyhelphouse.org, or whidbeyislandnourishes.org to donate today. Together, we can make sure everyone on Whidbey has a seat at the table. Well, after I read more about that when researching you guys, I'm going to definitely be back down here because I love sake and I love the tastings and I love the warm. You know, my husband doesn't think it tastes like anything. I'm like, are you kidding? I go, it's different if you just go to some rando restaurant, you know, and you start asking them questions and they can't answer, then you're probably going to get something that's tasteless. But, you know, when you go to a really good Japanese restaurant, they have really good sakes that go with their food, for sure.
Yeah, I was saying some of them I have to fight for. It's like there's one sake that I wanted, and it only comes out a couple of times a year. And I knew when it was hitting the country, and I knew when it was hitting Washington. And I'm on the phone with a distributor that morning, and I'm listening to him, and we're looking at screens and refreshing. It's like, it's like buying concert tickets. Is it in yet? Is it in yet?
Yeah.
Is it in? Yeah. Refresh. And then there's 12 bottles for all of Washington State. And buy. And
really?
There were a lot of upset people in Seattle that day because now they're going to have to wait till March to get this one. But I have it here.
Why is there so little?
They just don't do a lot of it. And what has happened is we've become a rather large buyer for sake. So we've changed the curve for the Seattle area. The distributors told me that it hits a national level and then it spokes out to the regional areas. And then regional allocations are based on demand, and we're just throwing
because there's a lot of Asian restaurants in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Yeah.
You know, you can't find a good one, you got a problem. There's a lot. Yeah. When you go to and you Google best of whatever, you know, they're always naming and it's usually an Asian restaurant. If it's in the top 10, it's like 4 or 5 of them, or at least that many.
For choices.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in the Seattle area.
Yeah. And, you know, that comes back to what Joan was talking about. The people think they know exactly what they are, what you are based on your cuisine. It's like, oh, it's a Japanese restaurant. There's going to be a nettecase, and there's going to be 3 guys who are going to be really quiet and not too friendly behind the counter, and it's going to feel a little awkward. And I have my 5 or 6 go-to favorites, and they always do these things, and I know what I'm going into. Here, you're not buying a cuisine so much as Joan's take on it and Joan's choices. So you can only get this food here. It might not be for you. It might be something you really crave, but it's not your usual thing, right?
So with that said, that brings me to the fact that you guys want this to be more than just a restaurant, but I guess a place for community. So what does that look like for you on a day-to-day basis?
With me at the bar, the counter, what I see happening over the months and months is people who want to check out a restaurant but aren't going with anyone, or coming in by themselves, they'll sit at the bar. They'll bring a book or a Kindle or a phone for insulation in case it's bad, right? And they'll just sit there and they'll go with it. And I make sure they feel comfortable, pick up on their vibe. If they want someone to talk to, they've got that. If they want to be left alone somewhat, they've got that too. But just making sure that what they need to be comfortable, they have. What happens is that person will become a regular. And then there'll be another person like that who comes in. And I introduce them. And then those people become friends.
Right.
And then those people who met at my bar go out and do stuff outside of here together.
Okay.
You know, and then you see that just rippling out throughout the island where there's
that's perfect, especially about we were talking earlier about how it's hard at a certain age to make friends when you move somewhere. Yes. You know, because when you're out of you guys have a 10-year-old, but when you're out of the kid zone, way out of the kid zone like we are, you're not seeing other moms or going to activities or going to Boy Scouts and, you know, all those different
folks
things.
Like that need to come
Yeah.
here because
Mhm.
our average diner is around the age of 60.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks on the island are by themselves at this point in life or don't have a large friend network. And
Yeah.
they're finding that kinship here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
great.
and one of the things to that end is we have a sake club that we do once a month. And we clear out the dining room and make it more like a lounge so that people can move seats and talk to each other. And it's become such a wonderful club.
Yeah,
of-
I didn't know that. When
of
I read
people.
about that, I'm like, oh, we're going. And we will. We're such social people.
Through
That's actually kind of taken over what the Somm table was going to be.
Yeah, I was going to ask you
Where
about the
it's
Somm table.
That was difficult to execute because in the summertime it was too busy to give them the attention that they really needed. And then, so what we ended up doing, I wanted to bring out bottles that were difficult to get, that I might only have one or two of, that might not make it to the wine list, right? Or the sake list. So we came up with this idea of doing something that was more approachable and more really casual and small bites kind of things instead of full-blown entrees. And then I could roll out these different wines and different sakes and do things. And it's starting to get some traction. It's really fun to see these people, and they've become very knowledgeable very quickly and very particular about sake. You were mentioning your husband not being that much into sake. There's so much going on with it. I have things that are really crisp and clean that taste like gin because of juniper notes. I have aged sakes that taste like whiskey almost. There's so much you can do with it. It's not just the stuff that you.
Well, he's all about trying. Like I said, I just think it's because he hasn't had really good sake. Same. He was the same way with tequilas. And when we moved back to Texas, we went to a tequila tasting once, and he actually tasted $100 tequila, and he was like, "Okay, this is good." Are you going to buy it? No. He's someone that you'll pour him a glass of wine and he drinks about an ounce or two and he's done. The food is just one facet of what you guys do. Can you expand on the philosophy of it being a jewel? Was that one of the questions that we talked about?
Well, throughout our whole restaurant career, from our very first coffee shop in San Francisco, I found this book called The Great Good Place by Ray Oldenburg. And it was the concept of third places, which your first place is your house, your second place is your work, and the third place is where you go to socialize, and you can jump in or jump out depending on how much you want to socialize. And barbershops, corner stores, those were the third places of community, and now coffee shops and restaurants.
Right.
So it's always been part of our mission with every place that we've opened is to be the living room of the neighborhood, or be a place where, like, hey, you want to meet me for a cup of coffee or a tea.
And it's definitely cozy in here.
Yes, the design is a huge part of being the neighborhood or a neighborhood living room. So
that informs the aesthetic and also informs the goals and hopes for the place. But more to your question about a jewel, jewels have facets. In addition to the food, that's just one facet of the jewel, right? You need to polish the jewel to bring out its luster. You need to not just have food, but have wine, but have great and friendly service, because there's a lot of restaurants that aspire to doing something just a little nicer. But the attitude, you can go to the bar counter and you're invisible for 15 minutes, and then the full vibe is, oh, you're lucky I'm serving you. And they can mess things up and say, it's all good. It really isn't. So you have to have attention to all of these seemingly disparate things, and it coheres into something that's bigger than any individual part. A restaurant is so much more than service. It's so much more than food.
Yeah.
It's
so much more than the 10,000 aesthetic choices that are made. It's all of these things coming together into this jewel, and then a jewel needs a setting, right?
Yeah.
And the thing about Japonica I love is years and years ago, 15, 20 years ago, because we've done half a dozen or more restaurant concepts over the
like
decades.
5,
5, 6, 7. This is the fifth.
I've had one without you.
That's true.
I was a restaurant consultant.
Right.
But Joan had these journals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was, I'll call it Japonica, and it was a word that I really loved as a kid, and I didn't even know what it meant, but I always wanted to have a restaurant called Japonica. This is 15 or 20 years ago, and imagine you were feeling out of sorts, and you'd always go to your grandma's house, and it was cozy, and she had some really cool friends, and she'd give you some great food, maybe a little bit too much to drink, and you'd feel nurtured and happy. But grandma spent a lot of time in France. Okay, so there's French cafe chairs, and there's some French wines on the list, and there's an outdoor area because grandma likes to have people outside in the summertime. And the right space never opened up, and we did other concepts, but there's still like, oh, this will be in Japonica if we ever do it. This'll all these things would be in these journals and vision boards and things, right? And then this place popped up, and we weren't planning to work this hard anymore. We'd done it, but we looked at each other and it's like, we're running out of runway here.
Well, and to me, you really have to love this industry and really love serving people and food to stay in it.
It's funny when Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives happened. Joan wasn't going to do that restaurant, and she's talking to Guy about it and says it pulls you back in. You think you're going to escape, and it pulls you back in again. And it's so true. You look at a space and think, it couldn't hurt to figure out how much the lease might be, or what are the cams on this? Can I make this work?
No, but also we wanted to make sure that there was a place where when people came in, they didn't feel like it was intimidating or that they didn't matter, because there were some places that we would go to repeatedly when we first moved to the island, and it was just like there was no recognition, there was no okay, here's you are so lucky that we are feeding you. And that was something that we were not used to, because we come from metropolitan areas where it's competition.
Yes, big time.
So, that was one thing when we hired people. We also wanted to hire people who were just innately friendly.
Yeah.
And just, whenever I have a chance to leave the kitchen, I come outside and I thank people for coming to eat here. Yeah. Because it is, I know it is hard for so many of us to just be able to go out to dinner now.
Yeah.
With the price of things.
Yeah.
And it's just like, thank you for choosing us and, giving us your time.
I love the aesthetic in here, because one of the things, it's not cookie cutter what you think if you went in the city, Japanese restaurant. Yep. Not that there's anything wrong with that aesthetic, but it's just innately your own. It feels different than any other restaurant on the island, for sure. So I really like the aesthetic a lot.
Thank you.
Good choices.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Unfortunately, Joan's here, so I can't take credit.
So talking about all the restaurants you guys have done together, I haven't asked, how did you guys meet, and what have you learned about life and business? You probably learned a lot. We could be here for more than an hour, but if you just wanted to pick a few things.
Well, we met in a great restaurant town. We met in Philadelphia. Joan was going to grad school.
It was my last year of law school.
And I was working in a coffee shop between gigs for insurance companies. I've always gone back and forth between financial services, insurance, and then restaurants. So I was actually working in a coffee shop, and
we met at an after-hours club where restaurant industry people go after restaurants are closed. And
I saw her smiling at me. Thank goodness. Otherwise, I wouldn't have her son or anything. I got up off my butt and introduced myself and said hi and bought her a drink, and we were holding hands 20 minutes. So then we were working in restaurants together. We worked in a coffee shop together for a little while, and Joan had family in California, and I was ready for a change, and she wanted to be closer to her family, and we ended up opening a coffee shop in San Francisco together, and that was our first thing in the 90s. We were actually the first ones in San Francisco to do latte art.
I guess we're considered first wavers.
We're okay.
For latte art.
Pulling shots in the first SCAA. So we did that, and that was a learning experience. And
you guys are probably doing it strictly from hand and not these machines that do it now.
Right. An artisanal approach.
Yeah.
And we were crazy busy. We were doing 300 espresso drinks an hour. Starling was 600 or 700 covers a day on a 55, 58 seat restaurant.
Wow.
So, we were used to extreme volume.
Yeah.
And, doing business as a restaurant on the island has been such a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Just getting supplies.
Yeah.
One of the major suppliers who supply Japanese restaurants won't even come here. Their distribution office is in Tacoma, and they said, "Oh, if you want to order from us, you can drive to Tacoma and pick up your supplies."
So we'll get people saying things like, the restaurant that I pictured in my mind had 4 or 5 sushi chefs and they're pumping out rolls all the time. Are you gonna expand? Are you gonna do like 20 rolls like everybody else in my mind? And it's like, yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an ad on Drew's List or Craigslist, now hiring Whidbey Island sushi chefs. That'll happen. So
Nobody.
People do forget that.
Okay, but wait a second. If they're in Tacoma, Bellingham has Asian restaurants.
I know.
So how do they get their stuff?
So
That's far.
They will go all the way up to Burlington and go to North Oak Harbor, but they won't come down to South Whidbey.
Right.
I'm choosing Bellingham.
Yeah, no, they'll go all up and
Up
down,
down.
but they're coming to South Whidbey in particular.
So what do you guys
Langley.
do? Meet up with them in Burlington?
No, so I have to go off island
Oh.
at least twice a week to get supplies, and over the summer it was hell. It was hell.
Yes, it is. Yes, my husband goes to Bothell every day. So but he leaves at the crack of dawn, and he gets on that ferry, especially in the summer, before 3:00. Just so he can get back and not get stuck. Yeah. You're just mentioning this particular building has been many things. So when you saw it, how did you envision this?
It is so funny because I never thought that Whidbey Donuts would leave, because when we moved to the island, it was just such a staple, and I just thought it's going to be here forever.
Yeah.
I saw on Facebook that they were closing, and then someone told me, sent me the Facebook article, and I said, "Oh my goodness, I need to find out who is the decision maker." And apparently there was someone else that was slated to come in here. They've been known about it for months, and they were in negotiations with the people. So I submitted my proposal, and they picked us because there are septic issues with this building, and you can't really do any deep frying. And that's one of the
deep frying and baking are really problematic on the island. We do lose a lot of businesses because of that. I mean, you can't dump yeast, flour, water, and sugar into the septic system.
I had no idea until I told that to my husband, who's an environmental health and safety engineer, and he was like, "Well, he said what you just did." I don't know anything about septic, but he knew.
Oh yeah. So I had always loved this place. I thought that it had such great bones. And really great energy, and to just update it a little bit. But Goosefoot, the owners of the property, they really, really went to all in on it. And they finished the floors, they did the painting, they rebuilt the kitchen from scratch so that I could just design it the way I wanted to. They've been such really great partners. So the only reason we've been able to achieve this level of design and just freshness is because of our partnership with the Goose. So
that's great.
The Goosefoot,
yeah. They do have a good reputation. So you had mentioned to me previously about your ingredients and things that you use and them being body friendly, like no canola, gluten-free soy, real intentional ingredients. So why is that so important to you?
Well, just because it's almost impossible when you go out to eat. I've seen the deliveries for a bunch of restaurants around. You'll see canola oil in the deliveries, and canola oil is the worst thing you can eat.
And you can taste it. There's some of the solid shortening soybean oil things. It gives you that claggy feeling in your mouth. It just doesn't go away.
It's on the roof of your mouth.
And it's something that your body can't process, and it stays in your cells. So whenever we saute anything here, we use coconut oil. Everything is coconut oil based because that's some of the healthiest fats that you can use. Aside from lard or beef tallow.
I put it on popcorn instead of butter.
Yeah.
So good. So on a scale of 1 to 10, How would you say that the Whidbey Island community has responded to this restaurant?
I would say it's a dichotomy where we've really captured there's a lot of people who know their food and they love it, but there's a contingency who don't get it and are just dismissive and say, well,
they don't get Japanese food.
Well, they don't get this concept because it's like, well, I thought this was Japanese comfort food, and then we want like nabemono, or there was just, or you only have 5 rolls. Why don't you have 20? Why don't you have 30? Is this gonna be it? And to that end, it's like, first of all, I'm the only sushi chef here. And if I was to spend all my time doing rolls, I still couldn't get it out.
Or a 10-page menu, which I absolutely abhor. Give me 1 page with 10 things. I'm good.
And then those people, there are some detractors that say it's not Japanese food. And it's like, well, how do you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like...
That was the first thing I thought of. How do they know? Wow.
Well, there's a lot of that in the culture now. I mean, we're very divided on many things, and it's become okay over the last 5 or 10 years just to say, instead of saying this isn't for me or this isn't what I think is right, it just becomes this fiat, this is wrong, this isn't Japanese, when people should be saying this isn't what I was expecting. And that carries over into every facet of living in America now, where people just aren't willing to say, I don't see it that way, you see it a different way, that's fine. No, it's like my way or the highway.
Well, what's weird about that is people saying that more than likely don't own a restaurant, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, go open your own.
Don't own a restaurant. I'm speechless so when my major restaurant came up, Yelp was just starting, and there was very little presence on the internet. It was just starting to be a thing. And now in 2025, I feel like everyone who's not even, there are people who have not even eaten here who have been like, that looks very bland, or, they don't know what they're doing. It's like, have you even come in? Because real restaurant critics, go to a place at least 3 times.
Yeah.
3 different times, and order 3 different things and go with different people, and, have certifications or before they make an opinion, it's considered.
Yeah.
And then I get, I've seen things where, this is never eat here again.
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
And another thing that'll happen too, which drives us crazy, is people say that, it's expensive at Japonica. Listen,
it's expensive everywhere.
Listen, it's we had breakfast at a place not too long ago, and Joan got a 5-ounce steak before it was cooked, and some hash browns that were borderline inedible, and something else. And it was $36, and we thought about it. It's like, people are giving us pushback about the sashimi that we do.
Yeah,
that protein costs a lot more than
a sirloin,
and we're coming in at less money. So ounce for ounce, more fish, and yet it's somehow expensive. It's tough to find a burger for less than $20 on the island.
In fact,
it's crazy making, but it is what it is. Perception is reality. Reality is reality. Perception.
Well, not that I want to beat you on that cost, but I had a breakfast, reminding me, with someone at Island Cafe in Oak Harbor. Just an omelet, nothing else. No tea, no coffee, just water. And it's $48 for her and my meal.
Wow.
$48 at Island Cafe, which is a breakfast spot. I was just floored,
Next time, have a huevos rancheros there.
Yes, I had that too. I like Island Cafe because I like diners, but it was just crazy.
I remember years ago hearing a supermarket assistant manager saying, I used to go to breakfast every day, and now I can't anymore. Somebody said, why? It's like, well, the couple of eggs, bacon, tax tip, coffee, I'm at $25, $30.
Yes.
I can't do that every day.
Yeah.
You can eat here for $25 or $30.
Yeah.
Now, there's other things
that you can
cost more, but like our flagship item, right? You were saying you like sashimi. We do a chirashi bowl that has 4 or 5 proteins on it, and there's probably at least 10, 12 ounces of fish on that thing for $49.
Yeah.
Go find similar quality protein anywhere else.
Anywhere else.
It's not going to happen.
Yep.
You know? Get a little defensive about that sort of thing when people say
everything's expensive.
Yeah.
Everything. There's no way around it. I just have 2 questions before we hit our rapid fire. And one of the things I wanted to ask was, how do you feel being such creative entrepreneurs? How do you see Japonica contributing to the local ecosystem of art, craft, and community? Because I know you have some little workshops here.
Oh, so, besides Japonica just being a restaurant, it's also other things too. I encourage people to have their book club meetings here. We're also doing workshops. The series called Dine and Design, where you get a 3-course meal before your workshop, and then either you're going to make a wreath, or you're going to make candles, or you're going to do a jewelry project, just something that ties in the space so that the space is so much more than just a restaurant. It's a place where you can connect with your community.
Yeah. That's great. I like that.
As far as connections with the community, it's also important to stress that we use local vendors whenever we can. So the microgreens are from someone in Clinton. The mushrooms are. There's so many things that we source locally, and the people who work here live here. So when you're supporting us, you're supporting the local farmers as well as our family, and you're supporting locals who work here who are trying to make a living.
So finally, when you're not in the kitchen or pouring sake, how do you two recharge and connect to the island life that brought you here in the first place?
Ed loves to go for walks, and I love to go to the Clyde. Going to the movies is one of my favorite things to do. Yeah. And then I also
like to go to the Clyde, but I haven't been
there. So one of my first interviews was with P&W Birdie on social media. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Yes, he walks every single day.
Yeah.
He's from Indiana, and he just couldn't believe there are people who hadn't been walking here on the island and didn't know it like he does. But anyway, he let me go on a walk with him, and that was super fun because he's told me that people ask him almost every day, can I go walking with you? He's like, no. It really is his solitude time. Yeah. So now time for some rapid fire round here. All right. So this question is for Joan. What's the one ingredient you absolutely can't run out of in your kitchen?
Coconut sugar.
Coconut sugar.
I love coconut sugar. There's a lot of sugar that's used in the sushi zoo and in our sauces, the teriyaki sauce from scratch. And coconut sugar has an earthy quality to it and a lower glycemic index than regular sugar. And it's my secret ingredient for
it's not a secret anymore. Okay, so this one's for Ed. Sake, champagne, or Japanese whiskey. You can only pick one for the rest of your life.
I can only pick one?
For the rest of your life.
Doesn't the Constitution protect me from cruel and unusual punishment? That's horrible.
Well, then just put them in order.
So
put them in order.
Well, no, let's look at that. I mean, before we moved here, my plan in this stage of my life was to be a champagne importer and to spend half the year in France. And I still know a lot of the producers there.
This is supposed to be rapid fire.
Champagne.
That's okay.
Champagne is a big deal for me. And it's always been a passion. And Japanese whiskey in general is something I'm really fond of. And Japanese whiskey is my favorite now of all of them. The Hibiki 21 is probably the best whiskey I've ever had. That being said, I would go with sake. And the reason why is because I can get a lot of the things that I would get from those other two from sake. There are some very, very compelling, sparkling sakes now that are matured in bottle as opposed to just having CO2 injected into it. So I can get what I need from champagne from those. 1% of the sake that hits this country is aged, and that has the same Maillard reaction, things that make cookies great when they're brown and roasted things. It sort of does that to sake, and it gives all these notes that whiskey drinkers really crave if you get the aged ones. There's so much diversity and so many different variations with sake. I would go there.
Okay. I just thought of something when you were talking because that's what my mind does. But it would be a great event here. Have you guys heard of Whiskey in a Teacup?
No.
So whiskey in a teacup is how Southern women drink their tea, but it might not be tea. And Reese Witherspoon wrote a book called Whiskey in a Teacup.
Oh,
Wouldn't that be fun to have an event here called Whiskey in a Teacup, and it's tasting Japanese whiskey? And you have everyone bring their own teacups, so you don't have to supply all of them. But anyway, isn't that a cute idea?
that is a totally great idea.
Okay, so Joan, favorite roll or nigiri to make, and favorite one to eat?
My favorite roll to make is something that is not on the menu, but it's called the sunshine roll. And inside is avocado, tobiko, orange tobiko, and then some slices of salmon. And then on the outside is more salmon and thinly paper-sized sliced lemons. And you eat the whole thing together, and that balance of the creamy avocado and the butteriness of the salmon, and then the sharp acid of the lemon it's like sunshine in your mouth.
I would totally eat that. Yum. I'm really picky on my rolls too. I would totally eat that. Okay, so Ed, you're pairing a bottle with tempura prawns. What are you pouring?
I'm a big fan of having some bubbles and some bright acidity cutting through fried foods. I love champagne with fried chicken, for example.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing something with shrimp tempura, I'm going to go more to the rosé style of things. I have a really great vintage cava right now that would fit the bill nicely. It's a Genet Ventura 2021, aged 3 years on the lees, and it's a lot better than what cava had traditionally been. Cava's really picking up. I do have some really great rosé champagnes that I'd go with. If somebody wanted something Japanese, I'd want something that has a little bit more acidity than usual. And I would want something that, instead of chasing that clear, crystalline, pure, linear thing that a lot of sakes do, I would want something that was more full-bodied, more complexity, more like wine. Okay. So I would go for a Daiginjo. I have a rare sake here, Pure Night, that is extremely pronounced in every way, in aroma, flavor, persistence of finish, all of these things. It would stand up really well to the shrimp. And if you wanted something a little more pedestrian and fun, a beer that wasn't quite bone dry, but still had some dryness, like Asahi Extra Dry. Nothing wrong with having several of those and washing it down with, some tempura with that. Those
so there just isn't one answer.
I wouldn't say so. And it's nice to have a batch of different things to do.
That's right. Yeah. That's true. Okay, so this question is for both of you. After a long day of service, what's your late night guilty pleasure meal at home?
My goodness. This is going to be hilarious, but peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
I don't think it's hilarious. That's great. Yes. There's nothing like a good peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah. It's because it's hearty and it satisfies that comfort edge, and then you don't have to really make a mess in the kitchen to eat one.
Not at all. Okay. So Joan, who would you love to sit across from at a sushi bar, living or gone, just to talk food? Just to talk sushi.
Oh, I would love to be with the chefs that I competed with and just hang out with them, because it is such a small club of people that have this specialized skill and who own restaurants and know what it's like to do it. So it's a way to commiserate and just say, hey, how would you handle this? And I miss those people.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so I would say the season 2 cast of Morimoto's Sushi Master.
I'm glad you didn't say Jesus. He created sushi. All right. And the most surprising thing a guest has ever said about one of your pairings.
I paired a Christmas spiced baking spices kind of cider vermouth with our matcha Rice Krispie treats, and I just stopped what they were doing, and I thought they chipped a tooth or something. And she just said, "This is perfect. This is the best pairing I've ever had."
Oh,
what do you say to something like that? It's like that's what I like to have with those. I'm glad you like it too.
Yeah, because when you first said that, I was thinking she was going to say something terrible.
Yeah, I was surprised at how well received that one was.
Okay, so if you could teleport anywhere in Japan 24 hours, Where are you going and what are you eating or drinking first?
I would go to a Japanese Afuro first, and it would probably be in Kyoto. There is this trail, it's called like the Samurai Trail, where you can go from one ryokan to another through walking, and then your stuff will be there waiting for you. And for me, the first thing that I would eat is probably uni sashimi, because I love uni, and I would eat that, and then a really good shrimp tempura.
Yum, 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 yum. Joan, what's one kitchen superstition or ritual you secretly believe in?
Well, I definitely don't like it when other people use my knives. Like, you can never
Most chefs are like that.
And I've seen people pick up my knife. Like, no, definitely, like my sashimi knife, my yanagi, definitely. It's like, never, ever, ever, ever use another chef's knife.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So this last one's for Ed. Finish this sentence. A perfect evening at Japonica always ends with...
The root for restaurant comes from the Latin and French words to restore.
Didn't know that.
So it's more than a place to get food. If you've done your job right, if you hit on all those jewels that we discussed, you end up being restored. So I would say a perfect evening at Japonica ends with the sensation of being restored, of being uplifted, of being better than you were when you came in.
Okay, Smarty Pants, that was really good. Well, thank you two so much. I really appreciate you having me here today. And I think that everybody is going to have a real fun time listening to this one.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. I'm really, really happy to have spent this time with you.
You're welcome.
And that's our conversation with Joan Samson and Ed Hodson, the powerhouse duo behind Japonica. What I love about their story is that it reminds us how craft, courage, and community can intersect in the most unexpected places, like a little corner of Bayview that now feels just a little bit more magical. Joan's mastery in the kitchen, Ed's passion for pairing and hospitality, and their shared devotion to creating something truly intentional, it all comes together in a way that feels like a gift to Whidbey Island. If you haven't been to Japonica yet, go. Taste the care, the comfort, and the creativity that's poured into every detail. Support the visionaries who choose to plant their roots here and make our island richer for it. Thank you for listening to Local Whidbey with Magsy. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a neighbor and on social media, or subscribe to get notifications of new podcasts at localwhidbeypodcast.com. You can follow the show on Instagram and Facebook as well. You'll never miss an island story worth hearing. Until next time, keep exploring, keep gathering, and keep celebrating the audacious islanders who make Whidbey feel like home.